What is up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, day traders, class swing traders? Hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Hope you guys are feeling good. Hope you guys are feeling a little bit more like pre-market spy rather than the duration of yesterday and maybe even the 3 days before that. Hope you guys are doing good. But we got AJ in the house. Good morning to you. Good morning to Albert, Amy, Andy, Bill, Brad. Good morning to Brad. We got Cindy, Frank, Jeffrey, JT, Keith, Lauren, Lucian, Malik. Good morning to Marius, Martina, Ray, Rob. Tom is in the house. Good morning to Tim. All my people out in YouTube land. Good morning to Clarice, Mustafa, LC. Rocking with us. Good morning to Alfred. We got Tanner in the house. All my lurkers in the background of YouTube. It's okay. It's okay. You don't have to say anything. I want you to. I want you to, but hit that like and subscribe button. And yeah, Tanner says, how do I buy options for Nvidia? I know a little bit, but would like advice. Well, one thing, not a financial advisor, so uh, don't trust any random guy on YouTube to tell you what to do or not to do. Um, but also to just be careful of the options you're buying. Um, and we have Nvidia reporting today, so there is a known event. There is hopium for both the bulls and the bears, and there's excitement on each side, which means those if and this is just a good lesson in general, but if you guys are buying options ahead of earnings, they are getting jacked up in premium. So right now, let's start this day a little different. I like it. Since we got Nvidia reporting today anyway. But you have an expected move after the bell today of about 10%. So from where we're sitting right now, that would give us roughly they're pricing in 142 to the high end, and roughly about let's take 13 away from that, so that's one 110, something like that. Did I get that right? No, about 118 to the downside, something to that range. So if you're buying some of those options, whether it be puts or calls. The only reason to do it would be if you're expecting a beyond crazy move bigger than previous. Otherwise, even if the stock moves, as long as it's in that relative range, both contracts will probably decrease in value. So typically, on days of earnings, I'd rather be a seller of earnings than a buyer of earnings, typically. But if you are buying some out of the money options contracts, probably go past this strike price of this week and maybe look into minimum next week, if not a little bit more time on it, just to allow those contracts to work. But yeah, just be careful on buying contracts on days of earnings. Otherwise, you just go into your broker, uh, pick the contract you like, and then hit buy to open with the selected strike and contract. But very, very difficult to do unless you have a deeper strategy. You're selling some contracts against your contract to kind of cover the premium loss. Other than that, we have SPY is gapping up a little bit. Pretty decent run up from yesterday. From the close, we had again just fear panic. We made and I did take some 0 day contracts on this little pullback. It was a nice win, for sure, but we were in this 590 zone before. Again, the way we got down here is a little scary and a little iffy. And I mentioned this yesterday. There was people on this day that I saw on Facebook, and again, I don't know who most of the people are. They're just commenting, throwing comments out, but they're going political because it's Facebook. That's what people do. But they're like, Trump is in the White House. We have the biggest selling day. The market's crashing. Um, but I don't know if they remember, like 2 days before that, the market just hit all-time highs. So essentially, I mean, no comment that day. It is what it is. But uh, we're just really in this range, right? Something like this that we have not really progressed. We have not gotten out of this. So as we get down to this 590 zone, we've been bouncing. Obviously, a little bit scary, just the way it's been falling. But we still have, believe it or not, we still have some hopium. The Bulls broke it out here. This is still a retest. They threw it a little bit of a hammer yesterday, and we're just in this range. So if you're going to go buy low, you are buying stuff down here. I don't know that we get crazy momentum, but buying here, selling up here, and then wait for something to break and then do this, or break and then do this. No matter how quickly the velocity is to get there or what those candles look like, usually you want to see some chop. I think the fear indicator uh, ran into the highs yesterday. Usually that's a time to buy, not sell. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Otherwise, decent little gap up, still inside day range from yesterday, so not bad on that one. I think I had my from teaching one of the groups. I think I turned off. No, turn it back on already. All right, cool. But above yesterday's VPOC, so inside day. Let's see if we get a little selling. Let's see if this 594 holds. 594.04 would be support for today. To the higher side, we do have from back here, we've gone through it now a few times, but I think there's a little bit of resistance, probably around this 597.52. So yeah, risk to reward is a little bit more to the bear side than it is to the bull side. But if you could start getting above some of that zone, I think your next real big spot, probably about $600.25. And if you're climbing above that, lots of resistance, but then you're probably looking for like a 609.06 in a longer time frame. So a little bit of choppy. You do have a little bit more at open room to the bear side, but looking for that 594 something to hold. I think I got a good trade on AppLovin from pre-market. They're getting clobbered. We got the Qs. Qs are roughly the same. So again, even though that's a dramatic drop, we hit all-time highs. That actually makes that drop feel worse. But you have the Qs just really kind of hanging out. We did close slightly underneath that previous VPOC. You're about a 50-50 on this one. Take a stab at it. None of these levels, Nvidia will be able to move the entire market, so none of these levels will probably maybe today after the bell is the day we can get the market out of that little box we drew earlier. We'll see. In one direction or another. My guess is we just probably go up higher and stay inside and wait for political news to come out, to some tariffs or something to come in to really see how things start to pan out. But you got 514. I'd say today's support should be about 513.31. I'd be looking to see if you can get a little bit higher, 513.83. To the higher side on this one, you're looking at 518.56. Anything past that, slightly above yesterday's high, 520.31. But I think if you can get out of that candle with all that volume, either bulls start to come in or you start to squeeze some of those shorts out, and maybe you could have a really decent close to the day, 523.99. Again, everything I just said will be complete nonsense by tomorrow morning based on how Nvidia does report. App I did just trade, but that's going to be still probably in the headline, so I went short on this one. Somewhere around 370, I think. But they did just have a report that came out maybe, I don't know, 20 minutes ago. That was from Fuzzy Panda, which is take it for what for what it's worth, but I don't know who they are, but they've put out other reports about shorts and basically claiming that AppLovin is there's fraud, which you hear the word fraud, you go short. That's a pretty simple rule. Whether there's any validity to it or not, I don't know, but pretty big gap down. This thing's already been kind of clobbered from the earnings, so we were essentially at. We were essentially at on February 13th, we made the highs of 524. Even by the close of yesterday, we were down to 376, and now you're getting this news kind of piled on top. Um, I've already went short. I've already made money short. I don't think I want to be the first one to jump in bullish. However, and I just sold it I put an order out for 341 to get filled for the to buy the cover, but this at open, again, Fuzzy Panda is a little bit, it's not like the Hindenburg report, which holds probably a little bit more weight, but there is some negative news on this one. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row of selling, and you are opening into a little bit of support. So again, how you get there, the chart doesn't care. The chart's going to get there however it can. And if Fuzzy Panda is the one that helped bring it down, you are at a little bit of support. Watch these levels down here, 325, kind of where we're sitting now. That would be a retest gap. I don't know if we get all the way back to 381 again. But I think there'll be probably some buying coming in eventually. 313.18 is a level I'm looking to hold, the bigger level. And then after that, 288. So take your pick on that one. I'm going to be watching that one. There's probably going to be a couple of CNBC headlines and people talking about it today just to figure out if the fuzzy panda is correct or not. And that's a deep question. Deep. Did I see SOLV yesterday? No, I did not. Yeah, the buy and hold strategy is working pretty good. I don't think we're so where they gave us the shares. This is a spin-off of 3M. So if you had 3M when they spun off their company into this one, you got some shares. So unfortunately, I don't have too many of it. I wish I would have bought more, but yeah, I don't think we're back to where they gave us shares. I guess I was around 91.30, but pretty good bounce so far. Nice day. It looks like you have earnings tomorrow after the bell. So let's see if they could live up to that candle that they threw in yesterday. But yeah, that was crazy. Oh, Fuzzy Panda on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? I don't remember that being a Disney story. That was probably the Grimm story. The Grimm brothers. That was probably maybe one of theirs. Coin. Coin is chilling for now. More importantly, let's take a look at Bitcoin. And why do I have a feeling? I don't know, but I have a feeling that depending on Nvidia's earnings, Bitcoin will actually react. It's got nothing to do with it. But it will probably be a little, I think, delayed reaction. We'll see. So probably like you see it the next day after the earnings. So if those earnings are good, that's probably a sign to buy Bitcoin in a weird, stupid way, but I think that's how Bitcoin's going to work. Otherwise, for today, you are still kind of breaking down, still in yesterday's candle at the lows. You do have that 200 that might save you on this one. That's going to take you to 85,679. I think we break it at minimum. And I think we get down into this 84,847 zone. Maybe you see some kind of hammer come in and we get a close above the 200 for today. But this is a decent amount of selling. There's nothing really holding us up. This kind of double top up here looks pretty dominant at this point. You have your bigger neckline somewhere closer to 87,423. So Bitcoin is in a little bit of trouble. Next spot to look to save, again, somewhere around this 84,900 zone. And then I think that takes us all the way back down. If we cannot hold it, we get closes below that point. I think that's a bigger pullback to 79,804. That's not going to do so well for Coinbase. That's really not going to do so well for MSTR. That's probably not going to do well for Mara, Riot, Misty, all of those crypto names. But we have Coinbase chilling for now. It did get some buying that came in at a okay level of support. We kind of broke that down first, though, so we were able to get through it. Bulls managed to get a close somewhere above 211. Watch that zone. We do have today's VPOC sitting at two, or yesterday's VPOC sitting at 210.46. My bad, 210.14. I think that's a zone at this point. If we get some more continued weakness, I think that can break today, and you're probably looking for at least 205.81. I'm really eyeing down this gap fill somewhere around 195.25. Whether that happens today or not, I'm not sure. But if Bitcoin does continue its little downtrend, I think coin goes with it. So I'd still want to be short until I see really any signs of life coming from Bitcoin on that one. Baba had a nice little gap up today. Yesterday was a decent gap and go, stayed inside day. We managed to take out the candle. We had some good volume. The next big volume candle is this high wave, and this is a really strong open. Um, the fact that we're still inside this candle, I think if you get a pullback, you're kind of looking for this 137.83 to hold. If we could hold above that, we close above it. My next target on this one is going to take me back to this 143.61. We'll see if we can do some work around there, or if we're just going to retest into that and then maybe come in for that bigger pullback. Anything that gets above that one, I think it's a strong move. Again, I still have my next targets. I think my next immediate targets was based off the weekly. I think it took me to like 156, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think that's gonna take my 150, 154, and then I think it's up to into this 165 zone, but all the way up to like 176 is a much better resistance. Still not really a lot holding us back, and I think we could probably break out of this pivot. All the Chinese companies, I think, well, all the ones I looked at pre-market, they were all kind of bouncing. You have JD also having a nice little gap up today as well. Let me see if I got any VPOCs on this one. Oh, I'm on the weekly, that's why. The daily, yep, that's a good one. Maybe get a small little retest into 42.33, but that's a pretty fantastic gap. You have a bunch of resistance on the way up. Otherwise, your big one would be 44.19, so a little bit more potential on that. Baidu, that one is a little bit tougher. I'm not sure why, but it's a little. It's not. You're still getting the same gap and go. You are breaking out of. No, this is your high volume candle, so I think resistance on Baidu for today 93.15, and you still have your 200 that you have to get through. So Baidu's struggling a little bit, maybe just a lagger. But the real play has been Baba the entire time. I never heard of that company. That's crazy. I wish I would have known. I wish I would have known. Not like I haven't been adding that to the long term for a while. If only. You got SMCI. That one is yeah, so they are still listed, which is an impressive feat for any company. I would say probably every weird. I think this entire list has almost met that same criteria of putting out the proper paperwork to stay listed. So not bad. I mean, what else do you want the company to really do? But they did come out. They filed. I think they put out their filing around 4:45. They had a 5:30 deadline, so they just made it. They even had 45 minutes to spare. If that's not bullish, I don't know what is. But getting a gap and go. I think this is a. I think the sentiment was that they would get the paperwork out. I'd be kind of shocked if they didn't. So the market is reacting to that. A decent location for open. Maybe get a small pullback. Look for 53.82. If that could hold, your next target on this one is about 59.34, but pretty fantastic on the fact that they could finally get paperwork a couple months late, just a couple months late. If you start breaking this down, and this would be my little concern of this is it was a little bit widely expected. I think that they would come out with the paperwork. It's probably a rather easy trade to just kind of hold overnight. Otherwise, if that's all priced in, 47.29, if people were playing this one just for the fact that they were going to probably submit paperwork, their fax machine was working, uh, maybe you get some deeper sell off, get past this, you kind of retest this 47.29 zone. So watch that support. I'm not going to go long at it. I'll wait, see what happens. If I get some interesting looking candles, a little extra consolidation, then we'll maybe have a trade on that one because it does have a little bit more room to the higher side. Yeah, UPS I was looking at. This one looks pretty good. I already put it up pretty high on my list. Um, Not a lot really holding us back, if anything. Yeah, I've got legit zero volume to hold us. It is a retest gap, but this is taking out that earnings gap. Big gap down, lots and lots of volume. We are finally getting some closes outside of this candle. I would expect a small retest. I think this is a good one for a high wave candle. Give me some kind of indecision. There's not, like I said, there's not really a lot holding us back. I think the next target on this one, I don't know, this is a big range for us to get to today. Maybe it's not. But you got about 122, so about $4.30 higher for UPS. I think that's kind of big. But we are finally taking out all that volume at open. Really nice close. Let's see if you get a small pullback or some way to get into this thing bullish. That's how I'd look to try to play this one. Amazon, EMZN. Some says as big as Nvidia is, expecting 72% year-over-year growth, unless they get fuzzy panded. And then they're like, nah, that was all fraud. And then we go back to the time tested. At least maybe they could just file paperwork correctly. Would be the next bullish catalyst. You got Amazon. Not sure why. There we go. I was like, where'd all my indicators go? I didn't want to load. You have Amazon, good hammer from yesterday, kind of into a little resistance or support. Looks like we're a tad above it at this point. Watch how 214.36 can hold. If that can hold as support, next target up probably about 216.35. Anything past that one, probably about 218.34. Technically a retest gap from yesterday, but again, where we're opening is actually setting up for a decent potential high wave play. I just don't know if there's going to be enough room into that first VPOC. On the way down, probably a retest into this candle. I really don't want to see yesterday's VPOC is 207.90. I don't want to see really that get taken out. I'd rather see this support. If we get that little bigger pullback into 212.87, that's a retest of yesterday's close. That's also into this VPOC from December 3rd. And in a worst case, I don't even love this one, but 210.55. I don't really want to get below yesterday's closing price, but this is a nice open for it. Targets are my concern, I think, but I kind of like it bullish from here. Let's see. And then the market's still kind of hanging out decent. Into has a big gap and go into it. Yeah, is that an earnings gap? Yep. So they reported they beat earnings per share by 28, almost 29%. And then the revenue portion of things, they beat by 128 million. So good report. Getting clobbered into it. You have a little bit of relief, I would assume, from some of the bulls. You're starting to get into, so you already have, yeah, I agree. You have a big gap already. Your next real volume zone is about 611.71. You get above that, you probably have room into like 624, which would still be a nice move. Otherwise, it's not a huge short float. This might already be a little too big for me to continue bullish. Don't know if I want to go short on this one. Maybe if you start breaking down to 601.91, there might be a fade, but strong gap and go. You're expecting to have decent volume on earnings day, but even a couple of these other candles that we're getting above also relatively strong bearish days. The next ones are here. Look for resistance. I guess if you want to attempt to go bullish, those two candles, I have resistance around 609. If we get started getting above 609, we might have some more continuation on this one. Otherwise, very, very close to that. I would expect maybe a double top, a hammer candle, bull trap, something like that. And then if you could take advantage of that to the short side, that might be the way to get into it. So if it goes a little bit higher, somewhere around that 609, hesitate up there. Maybe you could play a fade. I don't think we get all the way back down to yesterday's VPOC. I'm thinking targets on this one. Still the 601.48. Otherwise, maybe get down to like 593.37 on a pullback. But I kind of rather play this thing bullish than bearish, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to. SMCI, what's the play with a possible short squeeze? I don't know how big their short float is. SMCI, 18%. Actually, not bad. Um, I don't know if the short squeeze is going to come into effect until this candle gets taken out. Or we start actually breaking out of, I think if you could get above 59.70, we'll say. If you could creep above there, I think now you have some shorts actually starting to panic a little bit. Otherwise, I see a little bit more chop. I don't know if that short, you're gonna have some shorts getting probably squeezed from the last 2 days, but really, really good resistance. So even if I was in this thing on the short side, thinking that they weren't able to write their name on a paper, which is the basic qualifications of an SAT, um, I think I'd be still kind of holding on a little bit until this like 59.70 got taken, and then I think any of the shorts any remaining shorts in this thing probably start to look to head to the exit. So I think I don't know if short squeeze activated on candle number one. All right, let's see. We got 287A. I love these Japanese tickers. I don't trade the Japanese market whatsoever, but Mustafa's convincing me. Every single one of the charts he's ever sent me has been like straight, no chop, just good looking pullbacks, good looking moves. Uh yeah, how do I even trade the Japanese market? I don't know. Um Big resistance on this one, somewhere around 1132. You're really just still inside day here. If you're in this thing long, I wouldn't be having any fear or panic quite yet, but you do want to see this 1131 get taken out for continued momentum. Otherwise, pretty big move. Almost draw a fib on this one. Let's do that for you too. I know you played the fib I drew on the last one that worked out. So let's do it again. Your 50% retracement, 1052. I think if you get into this one closer to 1044, you have some decent risk to reward on this trade. Maybe down to 1039 if you're lucky, but I'd probably go with 1044 for an entry. I wouldn't chase this thing bullish. It's had a good move so far, so not bad. But looks good. All right, let's see. XYZ block, aka square, aka SQ. Well, my whole list change. Hold on. What am I? Oh no, I changed my entire order of my list somehow. How do I go back to that? Where's my smarter people than me? I don't want alphabetical order. Yeah, and also DPZ, they just changed their ticker out of nowhere too. That's crazy. All right. It is what it is. XYZ is looking like it is opening pretty much where it closed. Probably momentum to the downside continues. Look for about 61.51 on XYZ for a potential bounce. Maybe some bulls start coming in. That's a support spot that they have to go to. Tessie, I know that's the opening bell, but I had a Tessie request. I missed it, so I got to get to it. Chilling for now. You're still at that 200 EMA. Yesterday's VPOC on this one is pretty much where we're at now. So if you get a bounce somewhere around this 303.40, 303.24, you're gonna want to see that try to hold. Otherwise, it's not holding yet, but probably more continuation to the downside. We will see. I'd give it 5 minutes, see what kind of candles you get, 5-15 minutes before making a decision on that one. Otherwise, everybody on YouTube land, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe buttons if you've not done so already. You guys are incredible, and I'll catch you guys later. Enjoy the earnings. It's going to be